quite often, all of us, we find ourselves in listening to answer, listening to have a solution. And quite often people just want to know that you're listening.
So, welcome, Enrico and Lizette. I know you've both been involved in leading a community group for quite a long period of time. Currently, you handed that over as you're journeying on eldership. But in leading a group, one area that I would love to unpack with you and for you to share with those who are watching is on your own personal journey and how it's affected you in the way that you lead a community group. You have been married for a period of time, but although you originally were married to each other, you then got divorced, and then you remarried each other, you were reconciled. That's correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, this is quite a unique story and a story of redemption. But in doing so, I know that that's shaped the way that you lead, especially in the fact if we look at what church should be. You know, someone once said church is not a museum for saints, but a hospital for sinners. And so in your journey of redemption and God, how has that shaped the way that you've led a community group?
Right. Thanks, Mike. And yes, we, unfortunately, but also fortunately, had the opportunity to go through 2 marriages. But divorce was because of selfishness, let me put it that way. It was my own selfish nature, and I think that's the thing that we felt most. The Bible speaks about it, right? That the flesh is in enmity with the spirit. So through my own selfish desire, we got divorced. I divorced Lizette. And through that, I was also, I got enslaved to drugs, alcohol, and so a lot of things that brokenness comes into. And I think just in terms of that, and Lizette's faithfulness in praying, we had a whole lot of people in church praying all the time, carrying me through that time of me turning my back on Christ. It actually allowed me then to come back and be restored in that place. No, there's something you want to add?
Yeah, no. So how I'd say how it has helped in leading community is, I think, it's just we've created a safe space for people to come in, a space not to feel judged because, who are we to judge? We've been divorced. We were drug addicts. So I think that is something that really worked for us was just being vulnerable from the word go, saying this is who we are. We don't think there's anything that you've done that could actually shock us. So just creating a safe space, no judgment, loving unconditionally. That has really helped us in leading.
Yeah, so when you hear that, and that's how we opened our first comm, by the way.
Yes.
It's like, this is who we are. We laid it out bare, and people's mouths drop. Because they see the end result or the ongoing working out of Christ in your life. And if you share a bit about where Christ has taken you out of, it's like, my situation isn't actually that bad. Wow, if he can do it for you, he can definitely do it for me. And that's the hope that we try to push forward, even today, with our story.
Okay. And being from that place of being vulnerable, obviously now you've been leading for a number of years. This happened many years ago.
Yes.
And so you'd been restored, and then you came onto leadership. And as you shared your story and you created the space, what did it do for people who are like brand new Christians? Or because I think often there is the pressure for people to come in to kind of, have outward conformity and to behave in a certain way. Now that you're a Christian or you're looking into the Christian faith, to now say, okay, well, I've got to now behave in a certain way. But that ability to be vulnerable, and the ability to kind of share your weaknesses and to say, well, actually, I need help along the journey of discipleship. How does that work out practically and then in comm? Because obviously you can't always do that on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I was just going to say now, firstly, you can't restrict it to a Wednesday. I think it creates a good platform for people to actually see that there's more to it. And much like we did now, we didn't give you the ins and outs of it. And we kind of have a hook about testimony and draws people in to want to know more and see more. And the way to do that is actually during the week. having the opportunity to make time for people to hear the story, but then also to show them that they are actually able to do the same. Community isn't built on a Wednesday. It's really built drawing people into your house.
Outside of Wednesday, of course. And there have been many times we've shared our testimony, or just shared in general, like where we at, and people don't necessarily feel safe to share it in a group. So after community, they would stay for an hour or two or even longer, and that would just create time for us to speak into their lives and minister to them.
Yeah, because I think on that, I think some people have tried to make a community group about, it becomes this inward looking, it's like it becomes a counseling type group where everyone shares their feelings or shares where they're at. And that's not the aim of getting together as a group of people. It's like, because you often have visitors, you've got kids, you've got individuals that won't be able to process that. And so it becomes too insular in that sense. And so I think by being able to build relationships where that gets shared often outside of a meeting is often a much healthier way of discipleship, rather than trying to do it all in a meeting or on a Wednesday night.
Definitely can't be done. And one of the things that has happened is, and it was a while back when we were leading COM, we had people that we were engaging with in church that we didn't, and we invited them into our home, to your point, visitors and the like. And what people see, sometimes they can't tie to real life. And one of the comments were actually, oh my word, they are actually normal. And I hate to think that we're anything but that is, people have a view of what Christian and living as a Christian is like, based on perception. And the way we actually break that and show them it's actually about relationship. It's actually about loving one another, and it doesn't look a certain way. It's actually different.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of following Jesus and loving one another and seeing Jesus in one another, is that it's being supernaturally natural in who we are, rather than trying to put on this religious facade. So in closing, do you have any advice for community leaders in terms of them leading from your personal experience that you would encourage others in?
I would say, just lead from a place of love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Love unconditionally. I think it's not always easy, but it does go a long way. That would be my encouragement. And be strong. Just love people, draw them in, listen, take a genuine interest in where they at personally. I think that really does go a long way as well.
I think that last part, Mike, is actually also important, because quite often all of us, we find ourselves in listening to answer, listening to have a solution. And quite often people just want to know that you're listening. And the way to do that is to take the genuine interest. And quite often I surprise people because I don't take notes, but I'll remember a conversation, a little fact or factoid. And I'll bring that up in conversation. And it does so much for the person themselves that you've actually taken that personal interest, and you get more vulnerability out of that place.
I think getting back to just what you said on, wanting to cover over a multitude of sin, and I think there's that tension we face as leaders where we want to bring people along this journey of becoming more like Jesus, and sometimes that means speaking into areas where once they open their lives up and build the relationship, where we can actually learn how to speak into one another's lives. And that might not always feel safe, but I think coming from the place where they first understood that they are being listened to, that they are being loved, and out of that environment, it's much easier then for people to change, right?
Definitely makes it easier.
And I think it starts with a foundation of covering over, with thinking the best, learning how to listen, knowing that we are authentic and real, and hey, this is who we are. Even in our brokenness, God will come and He will shape us and change us along the way. And it's just good to hear that. So thank you for sharing and for just with your own journey and your own story. And thank you for your time.